So, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Now, today I thought I would share some more information. I know that we always talk about breast cancer and how to heal ourselves, whether it's physically, emotionally, psychologically. We need to heal ourselves in all aspects of going through this journey. But one of the really important things, and I actually even spoke about it myself when I went through my breast cancer journey myself, is about nutrition. And it's really, really important to get that right. So today, let me get started by saying if you squeeze a world of passion, a goal driven problem solver, and an adventurous triathlete into 5 feet of fun, you're going to get Faith Louise Cooper. Now, Faith is a nutritionist, an international speaker, and a coach. Faith Louise Cooper is a certified nutritionist of health coach at Beyond Empowerment Services, equipping, educating, and empowering families with chronic conditions to live a life of to the full, to the full capacity. Working with families working with families that lives have changed in one moment has instilled the value of compassion in someone's life. Her passion stems from seeing the impact of her sister's diagnosis with cancer at a young age of 8 years old and what it did with the whole family. She has received her certifications through the American Fitness Professional Association. And having said all of this, I want to introduce you now to Faith Louise Cooper. Welcome, Faith.
Thanks and welcome. And I have to say happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving here in the United States today.
Wow, so happy Thanksgiving to you too. I really love to do, I would love to do a Thanksgiving in America one time. It's not just about gathering people around the table, it is giving thanks. And it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that you guys do. I think your Thanksgiving, and correct me if I'm wrong, is probably bigger than your Christmas. So, and I find that to be empowering for the families to come together. So, yeah, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the US who's listening or who's watching this. Now, so Faith, let's get started with what we just said. So basically, talk us through it. You're the young age of 8, or I'm not sure if it was yourself or your sister. You see your sister get diagnosed with cancer. So take us through that journey and let us know how that happened, that it brought you to where you are today.
So yeah, my sister was 8 and I was 10 years old when my sister was diagnosed with cancer. It's a day that I remember very vividly. It was the day I was in 4th grade and we had our play at the end of the year, and my parents came, and I remember her saying, "I've got to take your sister up to Kalamazoo." And that was the day she got diagnosed. I had to go to a friend's house. We, even as a family, say that divides our family. My dad says that as well. There's like life before my sister's diagnosis and life afterwards, because we came into things changed. All of a sudden, my definition of what a mom is, my mom always was home, and now she spent so much time traveling up. She had to go an hour for treatment. She had what's called acute lymphomic leukemia, so it was a blood cancer. And so that was my start of the journey, and seeing that it affected everyone, including myself and my youngest sister, who at the time was only 5 years old. So that was the start. It really just changed, and going through all those motions as a 10-year-old, you don't understand exactly what's going on, how to define those emotions.
Right. So it's okay. So you're going through that, but what happened besides your sister going through the cancer, but what happened where you thought, where it took you on the path to become a nutritionist, to look at life as it is? Was it something that she had to start eating? There were things that she had to stop eating?
So it was a combination of all that, but then actually 2 years later, I was diagnosed with juvenile arthritis, and having that fact of being alone and not knowing anyone else who has gone through it. I know probably you guys all appreciate having this podcast where you've got connections with others with breast cancer. So I was going through that journey. I got into the IT industry, actually, lost my job and started exploring and realizing I have this passion for education and for the family, especially those in the second area, like especially the siblings. So I knew I wanted to focus on the families. And I knew if I was focusing on health, not just the well-being, that in the chronic condition, almost like so many people offer suggestions. I knew I needed that backing of, if I was going to make health and nutrition suggestions, I needed to have that certification behind me so that I felt fully qualified and I wasn't just somebody saying, "Oh, you should do this."
Yeah, I get that, because there's a lot of people who they try and help, in my journey as well. I got told to, which is the craziest one, whether it works or not, each to their own, was to bake red beans in an oven and then squeeze out the juice of it and drink that, and that'll help me with my cancer. So it's like, oh, okay, or this is what I mean. You hear a lot of, oh, no, no, you got to stop eating this, and you got to start eating more of this, and you got to have more of this and less of this, and it can be overwhelming, so yeah. So talk us through that. So what would be something that you like you're saying now that, okay, so what is it that you had to, you just said the nutrition for chronic, but why is it important for people to look after their health, what they put in their mouth pretty much? How is that helping what they're going through physically?
So if you don't, then what you put into your body, one, it gives you the fuel and energy for your body to fight and combat the breast cancer, but it also, what you put into your body actually even determines, like, it's part of your environment and actually determines what genes are expressed. So even then, if you have the gene for breast cancer, it doesn't mean that you're going to actually get breast cancer. You can actually kind of control some of those conditions, and I did find also wanting to know the nutrition for myself, because right, there's so many this and that. So there are certain things that do help, but in general too, you need to have proper energy and fuel and give your body the certain vitamins and nutrition. Like, there's certain things your body needs to function in each of its different roles. And if you're not giving it to it, then it's going to start not working because it's not what it needs.
Well, see, having said that, how does someone, I mean, it doesn't matter, just not that it doesn't matter. It's not just anyone who's going through breast cancer, anyone who's going through anything, chronic illness. So how would you know? Like, is this something that you would go and get a blood test and find out what you're lacking first? Or is it just a matter of just changing up your diet? What would you say would be the first thing you should do? So, like you said, there could be certain nutritions that your body's lacking. What's the best way to do it? Is it going to see a doctor? Is it just starting to eat a certain food or starting to eat a different way?
I think in general, so they studied the people that lived the longest. And there's certain things that all those groups had in common. So you could just start in that particular area of just making sure half of your plate is fruits and vegetables, like your carbohydrates from there. You got your carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not bad. There are good carbohydrates that fuel your body, and then there's simple carbohydrates that just skyrocket your sugar, and because they're empty versus full with other nutrition. And actually, your meat you should have protein, but animal meat, it should be considered a side, not the main portion of the thing. Would be a general thing. There are certain tests that, if you've got symptoms, that your doctor will give tests for. I know that my body has trouble absorbing iron, so I make sure I have high iron rich foods and then vitamin C with it because and some fat because those help your body absorb vitamin C. So there's certain things that you can know, like your iron, B12, potassium. There's different things that your doctor would test for, and then you could. But just in general, if you just start eating a healthy diet, a lot of those things will start naturally be putting into supplements to your body.
So what you're saying is basically, yeah, if you're not sure 100%, okay, well, maybe put down the fries and the burgers and the pizza and maybe pick up a fruit here and there and an apple or a pear and some vegetables and some greens, things like that. Maybe swap your donut or, muffin in the morning for a nice green smoothie. And a lot of people think, smoothies are disgusting. No, I just had mine, and I have it with avocado, spinach, bit of protein, almond milk, and a little bit of peanut butter. So it gives it a bit of a flavor. So it's not all yuck and guck and now you want me to drink this green thing that I've just juiced every damn green thing under the sun, but I get what you're saying, because it is true. Because, well, if we go back in time, we didn't have these fast foods, did we? We didn't have these medications. So, like you said, the longest living people, how did they do it? So they would have eaten what was on the land, but also I believe they would have eaten what was seasonal. Does that make sense? If
Yeah.
it's winter, it's whatever the winter food was. It was summer, was whatever the summer food was. Whereas we're living in a society where they're pumping summer food in winter and winter food in summer, and it's just all over the shop. Um, and I believe that, like you said, because people automatically think that, oh, no, I've got to get rid of carbohydrates and everything. But like you said, there's the natural fats, and then there's the unnatural fats that you should think about. But the thing is, so why did I just want to get more involved in, well, how did that change your life? Like, obviously this has happened to your sister, it's happened to yourself. So what did you try and do? Did you try and sort of, not convince, but did your family see how the changes were helping you and they jumped on board? Like, what happened there?
So I actually just did the nutrition study very recently, and I'm not saying my family it's 100% because my sister now has like chronic conditions that most of them the nutrition isn't. It's not going to help her because she's 100% on TPN, but I think our family's always tried to eat healthier or more fruits and veggies. So that was something that we just enjoyed naturally. I think there's a couple big changes I've made, and my parents have been trying as we've all started to have our own actually individual diets because my dad is diabetic, and so he eats a little differently because if you're diabetic versus an athlete versus someone with Crohn's or other digestive issues.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think we've had to make adjustments at the table. We'll have 2 sets of cranberry dishes at a holiday because my dad does more of the artificial sugars. It's better with his diabetes, and my sister, because of her Crohn's and MS, cannot have artificial sugars. So we end up with like 2 dishes at the table.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of depending on what part of the body is affected, what to eat. But I have personally, and I think parents might, because I go, my symptoms have better when I eat a certain way, when I eat less animal products and eat more of the fruit and veggies, and then get my protein from your nuts. And there's your combination of your nuts and grains together usually do your protein. There's a couple that have complete proteins that you can have as well.
Yeah, well, it's so true, because everyone's different. So you cannot have one sort of mold. for everyone. No one fits the same mold, like you just said. Unfortunately, like I also have a sister with Crohn's. I went through breast cancer. So there's all these different things. My father went through it's similar to Crohn's, but it's not. And now he's got amyloidosis and he can't have salts. So I get what you're saying, but what you got to do is just adapt, uh, adapt to what is best for you. And of course, this is what we're saying is go out there, look at what you've got, look at what you're eating, and just slowly make the changes. Because, I've heard of, and I'm not sure if you have, Faith, as well, where you hear of a lot of people who go, oh, okay, I need to do the juicing cleansing diet. Now, I've got nothing against the juice cleanse diet. I have nothing. You want to do it, knock yourself out. But then they're on it for 6 months and they're going, "Oh my goodness, I feel like this. I'm getting ulcers. I'm getting this. I'm getting that. And I'm like, "Well, do you think you've gone a little bit too far with it?" And the body's probably going, "Hey, you used to give me all right, you used to give me some bad stuff, but you used to give me some good stuff and you're not giving me that anymore." So then the body starts to change and it goes all over the place. So um yeah, I just find it that I think what I'm trying to say is I think everything should be in moderation. Do you agree with that? Everything should be in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation. And it's interesting actually with that juice cleanse study is that when you do that juice cleanse, your juices don't have the fibers, and having the fiber is what helps clean your system out. So it's actually not the best cleanse of the body. It's just
Yeah.
enough, and so that when you have fibers and the sugars together, it helps you process it so you don't have the skyrocket in your blood sugar. But yet
Mm,
there's you shouldn't necessarily diet and food calorie restrictions or restricting yourself. That's not going to last long term. You need to think more of a lifestyle. And the easiest way I talk with clients is there's a traffic light. Green you have is your unprocessed plant-based items, unprocessed plants. Yellow is your processed proteins and your animal products, and then yellow is completely really processed your animal products and processed meats. And you can have like the reds to help you eat the green. So if you basically you just say if you have a choice between a green light and a yellow light, you should choose the green. And it's all about making healthy choices than eating in a strict diet.
Like you said, the word diet alone, doesn't work. I think, you know what I mean? Like when people go, "Oh, I'm on this diet," I never say that. I always say, "I'm just eating cleaner." I'm doing a new, like we go in and out of keto, not in a bad way, because we're not in it forever, which is, and we do introduce after 6 weeks, we do introduce carbs back into our foods. A lot more carbs, that is, so we're not, but we're doing it in a healthy way. But I never say to people, "Oh, I'm doing the keto diet." I just go, "I'm just eating cleaner these days. I'm just trying to eat healthier these days." Like you said, it's a lifestyle change. If you want to be in it for a long run, you got to make some changes. We're not telling you. I'm sure, like you said, you got Thanksgiving, and I'm sure if I was a a little fly on the wall of Thanksgiving, I'd be like, "Oh, look at all this amazing food," and I'm sure there's some foods in there that would probably make you want to sleep for about a week, because it'll jack up the sugar levels and things like that. But you get what I'm saying? But you got to allow yourself to enjoy these moments as well, because like you said, these things, if you keep telling yourself, "Oh, I'm going to diet this, I'm going to diet this, I'm going to diet this," it doesn't last. It doesn't, because your mind is saying this is short term. Whereas when you say it's a lifestyle change, It's changing the mind to understand this isn't going to happen for 6 months, Grace. This isn't happening for 12 months. This isn't happening for 2 years. This is going to happen all the time. And like you said before, a lot of people forget that there's certain reasons why foods need to be eaten how they are and not squeeze the crap out of them, like we said about the juicing. Because I agree with you, because no, put it in a juicer and squeeze everything out, and then you just got this beautiful juice. No, you want to have a juice. You really want to go and eat your, 3 pears and 2 apples and your spinach and everything. Put it in a blender, like a thick soup. You know what I mean? But that's disgusting for people. People are like, oh, but it's disgusting. It's got pulp. It's got this. It's got that. Well, it's meant to, because that's what you were saying before. You need that fiber. So how did you get involved in, because you've got this your Facebook page. I've written, I've got it there. I'm going to put all your links in the podcast. But how did you come up with Beyond Empowerment Services? What does that provide people out there?
So the idea is I want to empower people to make the choices and be equipped with everything they need to feel empowered to live an enriching life and what they have. But I'm saying beyond, because there is no limit. I don't want them to think that I'm limiting them. Like, it's like beyond, like I empower you and you just go way beyond what we can imagine. So that's where I came up with the Beyond Empowerment Services. Actually, I have a lot of, because it's equip, educate, and then empower, and that empowerment just really resonated with me. And then the live enriching lives.
Like you said. So what do you basically, what does your website offer to people? So you're obviously seeing people from all different types of backgrounds, as in what they're going through. Like you wrote before, you got chronic illnesses. Now, chronic illness is an umbrella. There's so many under that. There's such a variety of things. So just touch on what are the different types of, who are the different types of people coming in? Like, what do they have to come and see? What I want to do is I just want to give the audience a broader understanding that you don't just look at one type of person, that even though it's the umbrella, what is it that you look after? Or who is it that you look after? What type of people that is?
So chronic, it's people that are dealing with a condition long term. It's not just a little bit. And I didn't want to pinpoint the condition, because a lot of the clients I work with might get a change in diagnosis, and I don't want them to feel like, well, they don't belong, or they'll get a misdiagnosis, or it will take 24 years to get a diagnosis. So you may not even have a diagnosis yet. I really deal and focus with chronic pain, dealing with pain and fatigue, and combating pain and fatigue. So those are my main condition or symptoms that I'm dealing with, trying to manage, because when you have pain and fatigue, it really hinders you from living a life when you're constantly sleeping and out of spoons, or the pain just, you can't do something because you feel like you can't move because of the pain. So those are a lot of particular people I work with, focusing on families. So somewhere where the child or maybe the mother has, and they have, children, so that you can incorporate, because the family is the support system, but you can also grow further apart if you're not actually communicating with each other at the time. So relationships are very important. I really look well-being. I have information. I speak about issues that are important to the chronic conditions, and advocating and raising awareness. I have a 16-week program that helps you discover what's important to you, and then equipping you with the tools you need to educate you with the information that you need to make the best decision, and then empowering you to make the decision that's best for you to live an enriching life.
Yeah, so that's
And
pretty. That's
I have a quiz out there too, if anyone wants to know what's one change they can make so that they can have more energy.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'll be putting on that link as well. But just going back to the fatigue and the pain, it's quite interesting you say that is because, you know, a lot of people, like if when okay, a great example of that is sometimes when I'm feeling tired, I'll say, God, I said to my husband, geez, I'm feeling tired. And he's like, you're not drinking enough and we're not eating right. Now, most times you go, no, it's not. It's because I've been studying for 15 hours and it's because I've been running around and it's because I've been doing this and it's because of the but really, it has an impact on your body when you aren't eating right and you know what I mean, or you're not drinking enough water and things like that. But it's quite interesting because every time I say to my husband, geez, I just feel fatigued. I feel tired. The first thing he says is because we're not eating right, Grace. And as much as I want to deny it, of course it's true. So it's like, oh, okay, yes, not in a bad way, but it's like, okay, here comes the lecture again. And my husband's not a nutritionist by any means, but he understands that when he's feeling a certain tired, it's because he has not eaten right. But a lot of people think, no, 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 my fatigue, my pain has nothing to do with what I eat. So how do you not convince them, but how do you show them that, well, yeah, it does have an impact on you? Do you understand what I mean? Because I could go up to a dozen people who are saying they're fatigued and they're in a lot of pain all the time. And if I say to them, well, maybe you're not eating right, or maybe you're not getting the nutrition, they'll probably give me a backhander and into next week. So, you know what I mean? But how do you show these people that there is that possibility? It's because you're not eating right or you're not getting your nutritions.
Well, I particularly know what malnutrition looks like, or hydration, but it takes time to say, hey, one, they have to get, sometimes they just have to get to the point where they're desperate enough to try anything, like down the bottom. But it's sometimes just challenging someone to make that one small change and then see the results afterwards. Just to say, I challenge you to try this for a couple weeks and see how things change afterwards.
Mm.
Um, looking, I do, though, also when I do an intake for the an orientation, I do a food diary for 3 days. Part of that is also I get to kind of see what the whole lifestyle is, because it sometimes isn't the food. Sometimes with those with chronic conditions, they might really be overcommitting themselves and not giving themselves permission to say no. It's just seeing that whole picture. Is it the timing they're eating, and then having those resources to show what a balanced diet looks like, and sharing with the benefits of what it is, and backing it up with resources of different um, studies that have been done to
Mhm.
say, hey, it could be what you're eating, or let's just at least change that so that we can eliminate that as an option.
Yeah, but also I was going to ask as well, with just not just the eating. I mean, if we're talking to people that are being diagnosed with something, whether it's a chronic illness, whether it's cancer, whether it's diabetes, whether it's anything, what comes with that is a lot of medication. So, and I find that sometimes the medication can deplete a part of your inner body, that it's helping one thing but it could be depleting something else. So, and is would you find that that's when people should say, well, if you're taking this supplement or this medicine, not supplement I should say, but if you're taking this medicine to help you with this, why don't you counter that with this supplement to help you, like, for example, someone who is going through cancer has a very, very, very low immune system. So I always say to people, if you're doing the treatments, if you're doing the, the chemo, the radiation, whatever, okay, that's what you decided to do. But make sure that in your foods, you have a lot of vitamins and minerals to help your body replenish quicker. So do you also discuss that with people as well, like where you feel that their medication could be depleting them as well? So is there something you can suggest?
Yeah, actually there are, because our systems, like, right, I'll take, if you, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, for example, when they affect the particular system, well, part of that system helps reduce inflammation, and some of it manages and prevents, um, controls the inflammation in your stomach that you're now hindering. So now you end up with stomach issues, as an example, because what could be helping in one section of the body, like that system is working in other parts of your body. So that
Mm,
is true. Those on SSRIs, because that anything that's going to work with your serotonin, well, that your serotonin levels affect your calcium levels. And as one of the things I was thinking, those with breast cancer or any cancer, your immune system is down. And so there are certain things that you can eat to help your immune system and different things. And I learned, like, with particular of the major conditions, there's been research out there, and we studied that. Unfortunately, some of these rarer conditions, there hasn't been as much. So you have to look at symptom by symptom or
mhm,
particular medicines that they are taking, and then learning what area it affects. So yeah, you do
mm,
have to, that what medicines you can do. And there's also sometimes where people have been shown, like with diabetes, to change or heart conditions, to change their diet and actually reduce the amount of medications they have, because medications have way more negative side effects than nutrition. Not saying that medicine is bad, and I mean, I I think they're good and they have their place, and then we should be
mm.
working with have all possible options, and maybe medicine's the best choice for someone, but there could be other options that would be good as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. When I say that all the time. If you're listening in on my podcast, I always say it. I mean, I took a holistic path myself, and I always say disclaimer, guys. I took a holistic path to heal myself, but I had Western medicine beside me. I had my doctor beside me the whole time. In the sense, if the if my diagnosis changed or something changed, I would have looked at it. You know what I mean? I would have said, right, let's do this or let's do that. So I always say that, but exactly, I think what they've got to do in whatever condition, because it's true. You hear a lot of people who are overweight, who have obesity. Not necessarily everyone, but I might generalize here. Um, and then they lose a ton of weight, and they used to be diabetic, and they used to have all these other problems, and as soon as they lost weight and started eating better, their medication started reducing. I know from a fact, like, I'm on high blood pressure tablets, but I'm actually on the, like, a border, not borderline high, I'm just on the border of, well, it starts right here, high blood pressure, and I'm right there, and we've been managing to bring it lower than higher, because of the simple fact that, I don't want to be on high blood pressure for the rest of my life. But I know the moment I start eating differently, I could reduce that. Now, I get it. There are fit people, they're athletics, they're doing everything, and they still suffer high blood pressure. So I'm not saying, guys, eat right and you'll get rid of your high blood pressure. That's not what I'm saying.
And
But it
sometimes you
can
need the
help.
medicine. Sometimes you need to have a medicine to help you get to the point where you have the ability to make healthy choices. Because if you're too fatigued, you can't be exercising or cooking and eating as healthy. So you need to balance out that. Sometimes you need that aid to get you started.
Absolutely. And I agree. That's what I mean. Like, every morning, like, my husband actually says, if you did if you did your eating lifestyle as religious as you do your medications, your high blood pressure tablet every morning. He said, you'd be amazing, because it's to the T. I take them. My doctor recommended I have one coffee a day. I have one coffee a day. This is almost 4 years in the making, probably more now. You know what I mean? And my husband's like, wow, Grace, can you not, do something else? Like, and I'm like, just don't push it just yet. But you know what I mean? But it's just making, like you said earlier, it's making those small changes. It's not going, okay, let me take out everything out of the pantry and just put in fiber and vitamins and supplements and da 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 da, because your body will go into shock and go, what are you doing? But also you've got to live a life. You don't want to get to Thanksgiving and go, oh no thanks, I'll just have a glass of water. No, you want to get to Thanksgiving and give thanks and sit around and have a beautiful meal with the family and not have to worry about it. Be mindful but not have to worry about it. So I quite like that. I wrote a couple of things down as well, because like if I asked you, because which I like that, and I might probably use that in my everyday life now, is the stops, and I hope I can, is the stoplights. I think that's a really good metaphor because it's such an easy metaphor to remember. Is what you're going to eat a green light, a yellow light, or a red light? And I find that like, wow, that's really good. So if you're sitting in front of your meal and it's red light, red light, red light, you're like, okay, maybe you should think of changing something up there. You know what I'm saying? So I really like that. And I hope you don't mind. I use that in my everyday life. So then I can also better myself as well, because sometimes I feel like I'm having, sometimes the mind, and I mean, I'm talking personally here. Sometimes my mind thinks, no, Grace, you're having all greens. No, you're not. You're not that sainty. Sorry, you're not. So it'll be interesting to help me in my everyday life how to go green, yellow, red. But if I asked you, what is your number one green light? What would you say? What would be your number one green light?
Number one green, probably the green light foods I try to eat, make sure I've got some coniferous vegetables like kale or Brussels sprouts, and my berries are probably like the things I have almost always buy a thing of fresh berries. Sometimes I have a bag of frozen veggie berries because I can't have fresh
Seasonal.
berries every day because
Yeah.
they're bad. But those are my things. I try to make sure actually I eat. I have my beans. And for your audience, soy is something important because that is shown to actually help reduce breast cancer. So that would
Soy,
be
was it?
soy. Yes.
Yep. Beautiful. Hmm.
So that would be my number one green light fruit actually for your audience.
Hmm. And what about yellow light?
Yellow light, I tend to probably I have my almond milk that I
Me too.
I do. That's what I put in my oatmeal. It's the yellow light helps me eat the green light food. Oatmeal, it's kind of a yellow light because it is processed. Well, but
Mm.
it's not processed. The process is, did you add anything that's bad to it or take anything good out of it? So, I mean, if you cut
Mm.
something up, it's technically processed, but it would still be considered unprocessed for
Yeah.
this. So the almond milk is my general yellow light food I have on a regular basis.
So just to ask that, because I have a lot of almond milk. I have almond milk in my smoothie. I have almond milk in my latte. Well, when I say I have a lot of milk, that's basically where I have it. So you saying that almond milk is a yellow light?
Yeah, because it's processed, right?
Aha.
You're not
Okay.
having the whole almond. Now, almonds are
Right.
great for helping with your immune system. So they're great. One of those things that can help, like just it's like a quarter cup of almonds can help with.
Mm. So that's interesting. See, I find that interesting because, again, I didn't know that. See, not that I didn't know it was processed, but I didn't realize that Well, yeah, almond milk, because everyone's like, no, jump on the almond milk, bandwagon. Now, you hear a lot about cow milk, right? Let's not go there because we could be here for all days. So you hear a lot about cow's milk and how it's no good for you, blah blah blah. But in certain foods, you use it. In moderation, you use it. You need to use it. But I then we started. Oh, I think cow's milk isn't good, so let's do almond milk. You know what I mean? But maybe too much almond milk isn't good either.
Well,
Again,
yeah,
then
almond milk is a processed plant food, and milk is a processed animal product.
yeah, see, that's what I mean. I find that interesting because I would never have understood that. So I really appreciate that. Now, what would you put as a red food? What would you say is a red light?
The red light food that I eat, it's probably, I will put things like hot sauce or mustard or that on my food. I do avoid ketchup just because I don't like the smell of ketchup. But I have my hot sauce foods that I put on my foods for flavoring. I do tend to work on making sure I have my use herbs instead, because those are actually really high in antioxidants. And so I try to only add way more flavor, but sometimes you just need something with moisture. So I say that that would be my red light food that I use.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so basically someone who jumps on and does your, was it 6 weeks or 16 weeks course?
It's 16 weeks because it takes 12 weeks for you to really see results. And so I figured we're not going to get things set right at the beginning of the time with changes. And we're working on
Mm.
not just nutrition, it's the whole well-being. So all 7 aspects of well-being.
Well, and the thing is, it says that to change a habit, it used to be 30 days or 33 days, but I believe now to change a habit, it's 66 days. So I can understand the 16 weeks makes sense. I'm doing that right. Yeah, I'm doing my maths right. For a minute there, I got scared.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. But that's what I mean. It takes time to see the changes, to make the changes, because it's not just a matter of changing, and I'm sure you agree with me, it's not a matter of changing what you're putting in your mouth. It's the way you think about the food. It's the way you look at it and not just go, ew, I have to eat this Brussels sprout. It's a matter of saying, this is good for me. So it's also changing the mind, because the mind will have that chatter going, oh, do you really want to eat that green light today? Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Just go and get some. You know what I'm trying to say? So you really need to work your body. I know it sounds like a cliche when we say you got to work the mind, body, and spirit or soul, but it's true, because the mind will go that way and the stomach will go this way. And you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, we're not working together here, guys. So, and then the body goes, oh, I give up. And that's when you get sick as well. So, I really encourage people to, no matter what they're going through. Obviously, I always say with this podcast, it's not necessarily just for those that are going through breast cancer, but if you are going through something at the moment, because I believe also to come and see you, because there's also things like IBS, you know, that people get diagnosed with. Now, for my personal sake, I believe IBS was due to a lot of stress in my life. So stress, anxiety, depression, all of these things, if you're eating properly, we're not here saying we're going to cure you of everything. But like we said before, it's going to help a lot. If you're putting the right nutritions in the body, it really helps a lot. So I really encourage people listening or watching this to really do this 16 week course. I think it'll be awesome. I might even myself look into it and have a squeeze and maybe join up as well, because it seems amazing and I'd love to always do that. Um, Now, is there anything else that you want to discuss? Like, I know you're on uh, LinkedIn. I know you're on Facebook. I know you're on, you got your website and things like that. But was there anything else you want to share with us today? Anything about your journey or what you're offering out there?
Well, I want to say that when I do my 16-week program, it's a group program because it's not only me, but you also get the benefit. You need support. I'm very much into communication and celebration. And I am offering a special exclusive for your audio, a special call. You guys can get one free call to just chat to see what is the best next step for your audience to be able to live an enriching life. So I
Yeah.
have that option. And if you just want to get tips, you can go to my website and sign up for my newsletter as well.
Yeah, no, I think, like we're saying, because I always encourage, like I said before, I didn't have to, for my condition, I didn't have to do chemo or radiation, but I've spoken to, and I know many women personally who have gone through that, and it really depletes them. And I think it's really, really important to find the right nutritions. Like I said, everyone will tell you what to do. Oh no, a friend of a friend of a cousin of a friend of an uncle of an auntie, did this. And you're sort of like, well, we're not from the same mold. I need to find what's really important for me to help me. And I find that nutrition is really, really important for while you're going through your journey, regardless whether it's breast cancer, cancer, or any chronic illness, and also for the journey beyond, like you've written. I'm quoting you now because it is beyond. It's not just let's heal it and let's jump off this ship later on, because you're going to find yourself back, um, you know, hopefully not, but you might find yourself back trying to find, oops, where did I go wrong? And trying to heal yourself again. Whereas if you go beyond, if you stay on this journey, like I said, do I eat like I used to 4 years ago before I was diagnosed? Hell no, I eat nothing like that anymore. You know what I mean? Nothing. I still love my foods, but I don't eat it anywhere as near as how I used to, things like that. Now, I really, really enjoyed having you on my podcast today. I really do. And I can't wait. Thank you again for sharing that free call. I'm going to make sure I pop that onto the links as well. So people, or, in the podcast as well as on YouTube. So people reach out, have a chat with Faith, reach out to her. I'm sure you can contact her on her website, on her Facebook, anywhere. And I'm sure she'll be more than happy to guide you in the right path and see what's best for you for your journey. But it's not just a journey. I think when we talk about nutrition, it's a life journey. It's a life journey. It's not just for those that are sick, but it's a life journey. Don't get better before you get worse. I think, things like that. So I'll leave you to say whatever you like to say at the end, and then we'll finish this up. So if there's anything else you'd like to say, Faith, go ahead.
Oh, and thank you for having me on the show. And I see to have Thanksgiving, even if you don't have Thanksgiving and holiday, you should spend some time in gratitude, because it does actually help you with your health. It will lower your blood pressure, your inflammation, and promote happiness and joy and self-care in your life. So Thanksgiving is an important, whether you celebrate the official holiday or just do it every single day. So happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you so much, Faith. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Like I said, I find in the beginning of this, I find that your Thanksgiving is probably the most profound day of the year, because it reminds us to be grateful and appreciate our friends, our family, and what we have in our lives. And we tend to forget that. We tend to make other things more important. And I wish we did celebrate it here. And we do have a lot of, a lot of little things that we celebrate, like yourselves, here and there, especially Halloween. We don't do them as great as in America. I've been to America in Halloween, and it's just amazing. But I think the other thing that I think we should catch on here should be Thanksgiving for sure, because I think it's really, really important. But like you said, doesn't mean that you have to have one special day. You can make it 365 days a year and give thanks always. So, having said all of that, thanks everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Like always, I wish you so much love and light, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.